front of you are our female killer whales. We have 3 females. We have Katina, Nalani, and Malia. Katina is this killer whale that's closest to us right now. Her daughter is Nalani, so Nalani is that one that's kind of creeping on into that canal over there. And then Malia is actually hanging out in our medical pool, which you guys are going to get to learn a little bit about in our next rotation. We also have 2 male killer whales, so you'll see in a farther rotation as well. That's Trua and Makaio. Actually, they are fission fusion is what they're termed, so sometimes the boys come together with the girls, sometimes they go apart. We like to keep it kind of natural for them like that, so sometimes they're all together and sometimes they're apart like they are now. Our killer whales have 7 different environments that we can give them, and they're all connected by those different gates or different doors. Sometimes we give them multiple environments, sometimes we give them just a few. Just like you guys like to have your days being a little bit variable, we like to give our animals a little bit of variability in their day as well. So sometimes they have access to out front with our big show area, or sometimes they have just a couple of back pools back here. So it's always a little bit different for them. Same thing too with the different types of sessions that we do. So we always like to use our HELPERS acronym. I'm sure this is a familiar term for a lot of you guys if you've been here before with that HELPERS term. With H being husbandry, which you guys will get to learn in a little bit, it's one of our most important sessions that we do with our killer whales. So as trainers, when we come in to work, our job begins. It's not just as soon as we're stepping up to our animals and doing sessions like that. We're taking a look at our animals, making sure that they're healthy, that they're in the same condition that we left them in overnight. We do visual exams, all sorts of different exams and things that you'll learn about. Another session that we do with our killer whales is exercise. Did anyone see our presentation? Just did, right? Yeah, I got to see our presentation out there. Yeah, so you'll see there's Katina.
Oh.
You can see she's really curious too. They like to check you guys out just as much as you guys like to look it up. But we'll do exercise sessions too where we just step up to our animals and we'll have them just do lots of high energy behaviors to kind of get that heart rate up and going. Same thing, we go to the gym, right? We do a little workout. Same thing with our whales. You have a question? What's your question?
I want to know why
curves a little bit. Good question. So his question was, why do their fins have that curvature? And you'll see a bit more of a drastic curvature with the male killer whales, right? Their dorsal fins are made out of material that's similar to the cartilage we have in our nose and our ears, right? So there's no bone in there that holds them up nice and straight. Since our killer whales are spending a lot of time at the surface, over time that dorsal fin is going to start to curve a little bit. With our females, since their dorsal fins aren't nearly as tall or quite as heavy, they're not going to get that quite drastic curve as you'll see with our boy killer whales. Male killer whales' dorsal fins can be like 6 foot tall, can be almost 100 pounds, so they're very big and very heavy. So it's a lot of time just spending at the surface. It doesn't affect the way that they swim or eat or behave or anything. It's just a visual thing or an aesthetical thing, right? It's like us, when we get older, you know, ears start to sag a little bit. Nose is the same thing, right? What's your question? They kind of look a little dry, right, as they're kind of comes down, right? Yeah, probably just
What is Nalani doing over there?
It might have been Trua, yeah. He has a big notch out of his tail. So it's the same thing like we get our ears pierced, right? It doesn't hurt, but just for a second. And then when it heals, there's still some sort of mark, right? So they interact using their mouths, biting and playing and flirting and fighting. So he might have gotten that just from like interacting with another killer whale. Yep. It can, yeah, it'll heal in different ways. That notch that he has is pretty significant though, so it's probably not ever going to like re-close back up. Same thing like with our ears and stuff. Katina has a kind of notch as well on her dorsal fin. It's pretty substantial too, so she's kind of healed just like that. Other smaller ones might heal up a little bit like more close together, but if they're a little bit bigger, it's like if we lost half of our ear, our ear's not really going to grow back, right? Same thing. Yeah. They eat everything. So he was asking what do killer whales eat? Depends on the subspecies of killer whale. So there's about 9 or so different subspecies of killer whale, and each one of those will eat something different depending on where they live. So we have some fish-eating species, and then there's marine mammal-eating species, so killer whales that eat like sea lions and seals and some eat sharks and penguins and stuff. All right, we got one more question over here, and then you guys are going to see our next group, okay?
What is Tina doing? Oh, there she goes.
Exactly, yeah, they catch the sea lions. It's really cool.
She is so curious.
Alright guys, well I hope you learned a little bit, just a little bit about our killer whales.
Oh.
We have so much fun with watching these right now.
Aww.
If you needed to have like emergency veterinary care or anything of that nature, this is the most important tool that we have. So what we can do is bring the whales in this pool and we can lift the false bottom and it will lift all the way up, which will allow our vets to get a little bit closer and examine and provide better care. So, I'm going to talk and answer questions. I'm going to talk and they kind of take a throat culture, right? They look at your throat. Well, these plates right here, they're called blow plates, and we have trained them to actually breathe out, and we can take cultures that way. So that's one of our ways that we provide care for the animals. We also can get a urine sample.
Oh, I think someone's coming over. Pretty girl.
And of course, the star of our show, anything I say is just secondary to this. This one right here is Malia. Malia is probably the most gorgeous whale that we have. Perfect in every way. Well, that's true. So the thing about Malia, she really wants to be a pig. That's our thing. She loves to be where the people are. She's our little mermaid.
Aww.
Another type of session for care is measurements, right? So we can get a weight on our whales. We have a scale back there. But we can also do measurements.
Yeah, we measure the whales. Katina is the only one right now that we don't measure because she's already full grown. So there's no reason we measure them up until I think they're 18 years old. And so what we do, we measure them and we use the medical tool to help us with that. We do pectoral clippers, dorsal fins, tail flukes. So we do it and then we can see how quickly they're growing and measure them up against each other. This also, so we want to bring on.
What's the best way I can say thank you? I can do it for you. Sometimes we'll go to boil with food or with ice or jello, and that makes them really excited. You have a question as well, my friend. I'm sorry? How deep is this one? This one? Yes, but it's deep too.
See? You guys come typically, for the presentations, the shows, a dine with Orca. We do lots of different things with them throughout the day. So,
Trua and Makaio.
some of the very first behaviors we teach them early on are their healthcare behaviors. We do a lot of different types of healthcare behaviors. Proactive healthcare, jump time, and all that stuff, right? And we just have a really great time. We do our learning sessions. Those are the sessions where we train them things. They love to learn. I mean, they are the top priority. We want them to know how much we appreciate them. Okay, so this is a little insider look. You want to know, well, how do you plan the shows, right? How does this work? How does it work around here? Well, we just try to make it variable for you, right? Mix it up. You can do different segments at different times. So what happens? Sometimes, right? Sometimes it doesn't go as planned. So we have these are their little Katina, Nog for Nalani, Malia, Trua, Makaio. Host is who is going to be talking the show. We write down who's working the gates, what part of the care and training, and the guest interaction they're going to do. This was important for Mimi to know because I sent Trua out on this slide over, and the host is usually in the slide out. So she needed to know that that was coming because that's a big splash. So she needed to go a certain direction to get away from the splash, and I needed to make sure that I timed it a certain way so I didn't douse our host. And then we have the finale, and then we have our post-show steps. And then you take this and you plan it, and you go backstage and you put it up, and then they say, no thank you. That's not going as planned. So people that come a lot see that they sometimes choose not to interact with us, and you know what? That's okay. They are extremely social. They are the top predator of the ocean for a reason, and their social structure is extremely important to them, and so it's very important to us. We spend a lot of time too just observing them on their free time. You can get a lot of knowledge on what's going on and how the next interactions are going to go by watching them. Hold on, I got to make this fly around. Yeah, like the mouse is flying over. Oh. That's funny though. All right. Okay, guys, we're going to move on down to your next station. And you'll learn husbandry behaviors that we do with the whales.
Oh.
Alright, so you guys can just shift right on down to Emily, right?
Oh. Yeah.
I am oh wow.
He's a good boy.
What are you doing, man?
Oh, what a good boy you are.
Are you handsome?
I know, come on. They gotta scoot down here.
He's like, I don't want them to leave. Alright. He's like, I don't want them to leave.
Where are you going? You love it?
He's like,
Oh, there goes Mackie.
Makaio and Trua, there are two males that we have. Makaio is our youngest male, he's a bred-in, and Trua is our biggest male. We want them to be small. We want them to feel like it's something normal that they do it. So we highly research information about a lot of things that is this community and they find it like a party. So you guys come to our presentation, guy wants to look at. Definitely sometimes we see them as a public. We have an acronym called HELP.
Now some of the healthcare behaviors we can do in this pool or in other pools are we can take measurements of these guys. So we'll measure their pectoral flippers, their dorsal fin, and they'll get to see what kind of bacteria is in there, if the lungs are looking good. But in the wild, they actually have attached petri dishes to drones.
Oh my God, I always try to get a cute photo of her.
Whales.
And she's very like animated with her face, so
So
it's
they
really
can see
hard.
what is going on
And I always send her the photos and we laugh.
these guys in.
I don't know what Malia's doing, but it's too cute. She's just flopping up there.
Another really cool thing
What is
about
she
researching
doing?
wild is they have trained dogs to sniff out killer whale poop. So they'll put these dogs on the front of boats.
What is she doing?
They are trained to point in the direction of where the whale poop is. And they'll find the poop in the wild and they'll collect it. And they're able to compare that poop to those guys as well. Alright. I hope you've enjoyed this station. You can head on down to your active.
Hi guys, my name is Malia. Are you guys enjoying your inside look so far? Yeah? Awesome. Well, this is our last little station, so we'll wrap up, and if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about the enrichment or the toys that we give the killer whales. You can see a couple examples right here. The toys that we give the killer whales have a really rigorous approval process. They have to make sure that the toys are strong enough and durable enough to be played with by a killer whale, since killer whales are so powerful. So our veterinarians will check out each toy, inspect it to make sure that the whale is safe for them to play with. But what's really fun is that these toys, you can see some jello still on them. We use jello as kind of like a glue, because you know it's really sticky when you first make it. And if you make it thick enough, you can actually glue toys together, or glue jello onto the toy. So you can see some jello inside this toy right here. And the whales actually like to eat jello. They find it, you know, it's a different texture. It's kind of cool and different for them. So they'll get in there and they'll rip the jello off and have fun playing with the toys and all that stuff. So that's why you see all the jello remnants on these toys, because jello was on them. But yeah, the killer whales love toys. They're very playful. We have a lot of fun making toys for them and getting creative with it. So, do you guys have any questions as we wrap up? Yeah. We got our three girls back here. This is Katina, Alani, and Malia. Looks like our two younger girls, Malia and Alani, are to your left, and then it looks like Katina straight back. So Katina is our matriarch. She's 45 years old, and then the two other girls are teenagers, 14 and 15.
What is Malia doing?
Just checking you guys out. It's fun and different to have you guys back here. We don't do this all the time, so it's different for them, so it's kind of cool.
big spot? Or
It just depends. Yeah. So altogether, we